Season's greetings, everybody. It is the holiday season here on the Last Video Store. We are nearing the most beautiful time of year, Christmas, a time to share, love, film with your families, friends, and heck, maybe even your enemies. What we do on this show is I, Alexis Toliopoulos, talk to interesting people about their favorite movies, and who more perfect to join us in the lead up to Christmas than the father of Pud himself, Mark Bonanno from Aunty Donna. Now, producer Emmeline, how excited are you to have Mark from Aunty Donna on the podcast?
Very excited. Now we've completed the whole set, haven't we?
No, we don't have Broden yet. We don't have Broden. Broden is
get
the
on
last.
The show.
Broden is last. And there's a few behind the scenes Donna boys we've got to get on the show too.
True.
So far we've only got two.
Yes. But we've got Michelle on, haven't we?
Okay, yes, that counts.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're going to get all the little Donna satellites in as well.
Yes.
That'll be the dream.
Scott Ockman, if you're listening, please come on the show.
The pod, Scott. Please.
Can I ask you what your favourite Christmas movie is, Alexi?
Favorite Christmas movie? Yes, because I have a very interesting, fascinating answer for you.
Good.
Because it is my opinion that the new Die Hard debate should be about Catch Me If You Can. I've been saying this for years. I think it's one of the best Christmas movies because every time that Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio they interact, it is on a Christmas.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie since it was on Channel 10, 15 years ago,
Well, you got to pick it up from the store for Christmas,
I guess I'll take it out.
Home with you.
Can I get an extension because it's like the Christmas period?
Yes, of course. You're an employee of the store. You know, you don't have to pay late fees. No late fees for you.
Good.
What about you, favorite Chrissy?
I would
can
have to
say
say
Pud by Aunty Donna if you want. You can say it.
to?
But you can.
I mean, I do love it.
And your job requires you to
I have to suck up.
Yeah.
I think my favourite would be the Tim Allen classic, Christmas with the Cranks.
I knew you were going to pull a fast one on me, dude.
You know me.
You know Christmas with the Cranks is based on a book?
No.
Do you know the book is written by John Grisham?
No.
I'm not kidding you right now.
What?
I'm going to show you right now. Christmas with the Cranks, author. I'm looking it up, author.
Are you pulling a fast one
I'm
on
not
me?
pulling a fast one on you. Look at this shit. I'm opening up the Wikipedia. Go down to screenplay by Chris Columbus. Based on Skipping Christmas by...
Who is it? John Grisham.
Yes, one of the great...
What the hell?
Like the great courtroom drama writers. John Grisham, he wrote it. The legal thriller, Christmas with the Cranks, Skipping Christmas.
Well, really, it is about a trial by a community who is for some reason outraged that one house won't put up Christmas decorations and have a party.
Absolutely beautifully put. That is why we hire you here. But before we jump in the show, I also want to say Aunty Donna have just announced their tour for 2025. The tickets are on sale now. The new live show is called DREM or DREM. I don't know if it's in all. Mark sent it to me in all capitals, so I don't know if it is. But they're touring all around, heaps of places. You can buy tickets right now on auntydonna.com, the website. One of the great websites as well. So
Love
check it out.
What's your favorite website? No, I'm just kidding.
My favorite website, probably letterboxd.com. I would say my favorite website.
Not the Space Jam one?
No. I would never visit it.
That's a good one.
No. Once I found out Skate Jam was meant to happen with freaking Tony Hawk, and then they went bust and didn't do it, then no.
It's out.
I will never go on that website again after that betrayal.
They won't get your clicks.
They shan't get my patronage. But what we do on this show, we talk to cool people about their favorite movies, and the way we do that is in the style of an old school video store rental combo. If you would like a little bespoke, customized recommendation based on your very own rental combo in a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment on Spotify or on the YouTube channel comments or on the Instagram at Last Video Store Batuta, pop in your combo and I'll give you a recommendation. Now, Emmeline, we've got someone here waiting in line for their Christmas, before Christmas break. They can get the yada, yada, yada. Just tell me what they say.
Okay. Well, Joey 5600. Wow. I got to get that right, clearly. A cinephile reborn thanks to this podcast.
Oh my God, Joey.
Love it. The Last Video Store is a treasure trove for anyone who cherishes the magic of Movies,
Magic
actually.
of music. Okay.
Wrong podcast. And the nostalgia of the video rental era.
Lovely.
Every episode, I am transported back to my childhood years of a Friday night, browsing the aisles of DVDs and fighting my siblings for the pick of the night.
Wow.
His infectious enthusiasm for cinema is matched only by his deep knowledge and wit. Thank you for bringing my love of cinema back to life.
I was hoping you'd say his infectious love for cinema only matched by his smoking hot bod and beautiful head.
Yeah, would you like more objectification?
I want
in
more
these reviews?
objectification. I want
Okay.
people to go, this guy must have a beautiful hog underneath those clothes.
And then I have to read that out to you. I don't like where this is going. Okay, Joey says, my top 3 picks are Pig,
Oh, I love Pig.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites for the last few years.
No Country for Old Men, a classic.
Great.
And
Very
Animal
hot
Kingdom.
favorite here. Oh,
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Love it. Love Animal Kingdom.
Good picks.
Great picks. Okay, I'm going to
And
give
Men and Animals. That's
Men
what
and
he
Anim-
loves.
Hey, well, my recommendation has Men and Animals together.
Perfect.
Not in that way, sicko. But it's a documentary called The Truffle Hunters, and it is about these Italian men who forage and get all these truffles. And there's this. It's a beautifully shot documentary, and they've got these little truffle hunting dogs that they have.
Oh, cool.
And there's even a great shot where you've got like one of the dogs is wearing a GoPro, and you see from its perspective running around.
Oh, that's cool. I've gone truffle hunting before, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my nose got all dirty, but it was really fun.
Scurrying around. But I'll say, just to sum it up, it's a look into the lives of a bunch of old Italian men with a collective age of roughly 65 million with the most specific talent. What is more cinematic than that shit?
Love that.
Great movie. Yeah, The Truffle Hunters. Check it out. And that's, if you love Pig, you'll love that. So, Joey, thanks for that lovely message. Next time, say something about my physical beauty, but that would make my Christmas come true. But let's get into our chat with Mark Bonanno from Aunty Donna, one of my dearest mates. Love talking to him about films, and he has got wonderful taste. This is a great episode. Yes, I'm revealing that we recorded the intro after it in the last seconds of the podcast.
Which we do every single week.
Every single
But
week,
there we
let it be
go.
known. Sometimes we decide to play temporal games with you guys, but this week we're being honest. Oh, and one more thing, a little plug from me, little old Alexi Toliopoulos. My last little gig for the year is at the Golden Age Cinema, December 20th. I'm presenting a trio of Christmas films.
Hell yeah.
A nasty little Christmas trio. We're starting off with Female Trouble from John Waters. We're closing the night with a very rare, I think it might be the Australian premiere screening of the 4K new restoration of Black Christmas, the Christmas slasher classic, one of the best horror films ever made. And in the middle of that, I'm co-presenting all these movies with filmmaker Alice Mayo Mackey, and we're presenting her new film, Carnage for Christmas, which is just a ripper little whodunit, queer slasher Christmas modern classic. I reckon this is an absolute classic. If you don't know Alice Mayo Mackey, I've interviewed her on my other podcast, Sunburnt Screens, when I did an episode about modern Australian horror. And she is like an absolute wunderkind of horror cinema. Basically, makes a film a year, feature film every year of like these cool, weird little genre takes in horror, blending queer cinema and horror cinema, like Greg Araki meets John Waters, meets like Carnage of Christmas is kind of like a little bit of like, those classic like whodunit slashers from the 80s, like a little bit of a mystery. I love this movie. Carnage of Christmas is maybe Alice's best film, and it is edited by the now award-winning Vera Drew, the director of The People's Joker. So it's a great film.
Cool.
And if you want to see like the future of Australian genre cinema, come to this screening on December 20th, Golden Age Cinema. Tickets are in the show notes as well. Click on through. But yeah, Alice is only like freaking 19 or 20 years old, and her films are incredible. They're
Whoa.
only going to get better. So come check it out. It's going to be a great night. 3 nasty Christmas movies.
Nasty Christmas.
Nasty Christmas. And tickets are moving pretty quick, so get in fast, babes.
The last video store.
Marcos Bonanos, thank you for joining me within this sacred realm.
And thank you
known
for
as Las
pronouncing
Vegas.
my name right.
Well, finally. I know that people
Beautiful.
think you're Italian, but I've figured out your true DNA. As they say, una faccia, una razza, you're actually Greek.
Well, the cat's out the bag, so to speak. The chips are in the souvlaki, as we say in Greece.
As we do say, of course. Yeah, that's as we do say. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me in here.
So welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, wow. You're actually welcome too.
Well, what a fan I am of yours.
And let me say this. It is not a one-way street. This is a mutual appreciation. I must say I enjoy you. I enjoy your work.
Thank you.
And I would say I'm fanatical about it.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. The way I am, it's crazy.
You're
I'm online
fan.
fighting all your haters.
Really?
Yes, I'm wearing my suit of armor.
Thank you for getting in on the comments. I appreciate that.
But it's a pleasure to have you in here because I do understand this, that you're also a cinephile. It's something that we share in common. You love the movies.
I really love movies. I really do. I kind of always have. And this was a realization I only had kind of recently because I have a partner. Sorry, everyone.
Wow, very exciting. We got the exclusive.
It's very cool. And
Mark is off the market,
I'm off
as
the
one would
market,
say.
and she hasn't seen a lot of movies.
Wow.
Right? And
so you get to be a guidance, a guru.
It's great, right? I get to show her like a lot of my favorite movies and just like
Cannibal
classic
Holocaust. You got to check this shit out.
Human Centipede. Just great, just good cinema. But I sort of realized that growing up, I was exposed. I don't think anyone was kind of checking what I was watching because I was like, I'll show you some of my favorite movies from my youth. I put on Primal Fear. I put on Time to Kill.
Wow. Even the title's hectic to that one, you know? It's a courtroom drama, but it's got a crazy title.
Just like stuff that's quite brutal and heavy, right? And a lot of like 90s thrillers. Like I showed her Kiss the Girls the other night, which she'd never seen before. She loved that. And
Katy Perry style.
Girls and Murder. Girls and Murder.
They love the murder, the
they
ladies.
love it. I'd love it too. And I love the true crime stuff. I'm not a huge horror fan.
Oh, interesting.
But I say that, but actually there's been some horror stuff recently that I've
Pray tell.
gotten around. Well, like, I mean, I quite enjoyed Alien Romulus.
Okay, I quite enjoyed it too.
You did?
Yes, I quite enjoyed it.
Some people, not so much.
Well, it's quite disrespectful to the dead, but otherwise it's a pretty good movie.
It's
In the aid of capitalism, it's disrespectful to the dead, which is something I do frown upon, but otherwise I liked it.
yeah. I understand the criticisms, but I love that. I love that weird alien pussy thing.
I love that. That little speckle at the end, you go, God, that's an insert point. You got an insert point on that weird fella.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know if something's coming out. I don't know if something's supposed to go in.
But I'm desperate to find out.
Yeah, but that scared the shit out of me.
Wow.
I really liked it, but I think also I really liked it because I really liked Prometheus.
Me too, my God.
Really?
Finally a Prometheus apologist.
Oh, I loved it, man. I don't
goodness.
think it's an amazing alien film. Like I
Yes.
think it almost could have done for me just without that very last shot.
Okay,
Of
I
that
agree.
dolphin.
Yeah.
Of the dolphin.
Got the dolphin
kind
alien
of
thing out of
xenomorph,
it.
right?
Yeah.
I reckon if you just had the chest explode,
Yep.
leave a little bit up to the imagination. Like,
Yeah.
that's just me, but what do I know? I'm no Ridley Scott.
Yeah, she'll not Mr.
Right.
Scott.
But I loved its whole sort of like meet your makers.
That's what I liked.
The design.
Because I've always been curious what the origins of mankind were. Finally got answered in a
Fine.
big, cool movie. Finally. Hey, Mark, I want you to take me all the way back, brother. Take
Yes.
me back to your first instances of falling in love with cinema. Was it via the video store?
Very much so. Like we had a very lucky growing up in the western suburbs of Melbourne.
Very lucky.
Not so lucky, but we had both.
I've heard it's the luckiest part of the world.
Really?
Yeah, well, a lot of good luck there. That's what I've heard.
Incorrect.
Okay.
We had both.
False news.
We had a Blockbuster
Wow. Okay.
that was put into. Very upsettingly, found out later. Originally, it was a cinema. Right? Originally, it was an old, like, single...
And now it's an
single
iPod
screen
store.
Cinema. I don't know, actually. It was a cash converters.
Oh, fuck. That's
After
brutal.
Blockbuster turned into a cash converters. And I don't know what it's become since. But that Blockbuster, for me, was...
Contained many dreams.
Many, many dreams. There was a Video Easy as well. It was okay, a little smaller. But this was a big, big Blockbuster. They just had fucking... everything,
Every single thing.
Yeah, I like, and I think at that time, my auntie, she had Foxtel. We didn't have Foxtel. Too poor.
Yeah, okay.
We're just working class, but we did have slab heating.
What's that, excuse me?
we had slab heating.
Oh, slab heating.
Yeah, heating.
I still don't know what that is.
So they put little warm coils underneath the tiles.
Oh my lord!
And you turn that on, right? And so one of my favorite...
The slab is heated.
The slab is heated. So.
Yikes!
And so one of my favorite memories growing up. Well, it's a couple different things, but in terms of the video store, right? We'd go and we'd do the like 7 weeklies, whatever. We'd go get stuff. But then I'd wake up early, usually on weekends. I'd find a coil that was warm in front of the TV.
Wow!
Put a blanket over the top of me, and then just watch movies.
You ever think about heating up a pizza stone in the oven and popping it on the floor in front of the TV, hopping under a little blanket?
You would burn your bottom, sir. It's not scaldingly hot. It's just nice and warm on a winter's day.
Yeah.
And there were a couple in particular that I used to rent out all the time.
Okay, yeah.
And
What are your favorites? What are your regulars?
Well, these were the ones that I remember from my youth, other than the horrific horror, like not horror, but like heavy
90s erotic thrillers with legal drama.
Oh yeah, what's the one? Oh god, I can never remember it. There is a movie you would know.
Let me lock in. Okay,
right. So it's got.
I'm loading into IMDb right now as we speak.
It's got Demi Moore.
Disclosure.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it ends with the VR.
Yeah, it's the VR. Michael Douglas, Demi Moore, and it's like a reverse. What if men can get assaulted or something like that?
Yes, it's quite. Yeah, it's
from the twisted mind of the guy that brought you Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton.
The fuck did you get all of that from me saying Demi Moore?
Wow. Well, let's just say I'm a little touched by a certain angel out there in the world.
Well, I remember Disclosure a lot.
Yeah. Well, not the title.
Not the title. But I always remember there's a bit where I just remember the bit in the courtroom where it's the recording of him saying no over and over again. And then I always remembered the stark contrast between this like sexy, sexual, psychological thriller with a twist on the whole thing, and then it just ends with him in a VR game. That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, but a couple of movies that I just wore the VHS out.
Wow.
Or at least hired many, 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 many times.
Yeah. Did you change it from wearing it out because you thought they might come to get you? You're like, that's the guy that destroyed the tape. He's on the record. It's a sting. This is an elaborate sting. I've been paid by Blockbuster Video Easy to track down known vagrants.
No, I think it was a thing where I rented it so many times that then my auntie ended up taping it for me off Foxtel. Yeah, that's where I was going with the Foxtel thing. She had a huge video
The world has been set up. Let's play in it.
Right. She ended up giving me so I think I wore those ones out, but rented Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Oh, wow.
Very, very big one for me. And the other was Ace Ventura Pet Detective.
Wow.
Just really loved that movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite
doesn't
quite hold up. Not the ending. The rest of it, fantastic.
I've not seen it for many, many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I stand by it. I don't know what happens.
Yeah. So those were those were the very early love of cinema. Like kind of just great movies. I remember loving like psychological thrillers. I really loved comedies, obviously like big stupid comedies. But then I think there was 2 movies that sort of like kind of changed it for me. That made me go, I think I'm a bit more into I like the art of cinema to put those words out
my
there.
favorite set of words, my favorite combination. Good Lord. What were those couple of films, or are they ones you're thinking of picking up today?
No. They're actually not.
Okay,
They're just the very first things where I went, I want to
Your gateways.
They were the gateways into being like, who made this?
Wow. I'm imagining you opening up that beautiful VHS case, the oyster, and then a light billowing out of it onto you.
Absolutely. It was DVD at this time.
Wow. So it's the reflective surface of the DVD creating light and a beam hitting your face.
Memento?
Oh, wow. Memento.
Christopher Nolan's Memento. And then also Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko.
Oh, wow. Okay, of course.
Those were two movies where I went, I want to know more. I want to know more than just having seen the movie and then having a good time. I want to know who wrote it. Yeah. I spent hours on the Donnie Darko website. Hours. And I used to...
You seem like a guy that did that.
Yeah. Me and my cousin, that's what we would do on weeknights. We would look at what clips were playing on Rage that night.
Oh my
We'd
God.
set our alarm to
Yep.
wake up and go and watch them. And then we would just like try and crack the Donnie Darko website, right? And when I wasn't doing that, quite genuinely, when I would come home from school in high school, I would obviously you get on the MSN, get on the MSN chat, talk to all the people you spent all day talking to, and I would just go on Internet Movie Database,
IMDb.com.
Yeah, and it's not in me to call it IMDb.
Yeah. You call it Internet Movie Database.
Well, at the time, no one was calling it IMDb.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I naturally always say, people make fun of me for it.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I think that's okay. I would never make fun of you for that.
No, I have a thick Greek skin.
Of course.
As you know.
Aegean. Aegean epidermis protecting you.
But yeah, I would just like go on that website and just look. I saw the Royal Tenenbaums and I'm like, who fucking made that? And then I'd go
Wes
on and I'd
Anderson.
look up all the other. Well, I know now. I know now.
Owen Wilson co-wrote it. Gene Hackman stars in it. Anyway, Marky, we got to keep on moving on. I'm going to send you on out into the store. Allow it to take you back to those days in that Blockbuster. Wander around this lovely video store in Batuta and pick up one new release film and 2 weekly titles. That is your combo. And then it shall be upon me to use my powers of empathy, which are present and strong.
I believe you.
And I will pick out a bespoke, customized recommendation based not only on your tastes, but the wonderful stories you've just shared with me, and also that I know you in real life because we're friends IRL.
My question is, what if I've seen the movie you recommend, or are you just going so obscure?
I'll say the stakes are high. If you've seen it, doesn't look good for old Lex. I do not want to be dishonored on this show. Let's just
I imagine
say
you
that.
just always pick a foreign film, and that's just
Oh, yeah, I'd see it. I go, what's a movie that's been seen by under 14 people on this planet? So come on back and we'll talk about your movies.
New release.
Let's do the new release, baby. You got a new release title, and dare I say, it is a rare time on this podcast where someone picks a movie that not only do I not love, it's a movie I don't think I like.
Yeah.
You've got from the twisted and fucked up mind of Louis Leterrier, Fast X.
Action.
The 10th film in the Fast and Furious franchise. 11th if you count Hobbs and Shaw. 12th if you count the short film Los Bandoleros.
Was that pre-Fast and Furious?
That's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, Vin Diesel directed it.
Of course he did.
So why are you picking Fast 10?
It's one of those very rare experiences, Alexi, where I think without question, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I cannot give it less than 5 out of 5. It is. So I was on a holiday in Japan.
Gorgeous.
I was just spending a month in Tokyo, just hanging out.
Seeing movies.
I went to the movies a lot.
Yeah,
I saw
gorgeous.
Super Mario Bros.
Wow.
I saw
One of the most famous Japanese men.
Yes, I saw Shin Kamen Rider without subtitles.
Wow.
And let me tell you, that's a wild ride. I was like, I saw Shin Godzilla. I loved Shin Ultraman.
Me too.
God, what a great movie. I was like, I understand
You understand Shin.
You've got the the people in the government, and then you've got the monsters, and I'll be able to figure it out. Shin Kamen Rider, completely different thing.
Well, one of Hollywood's other greatest monsters, Mr. Vin Diesel.
Yes.
Now that
right?
is a man you can understand.
Now, I don't know what happened, but this movie made me have like an existential crisis, right? I've only seen Fast and Furious.
Wow. Okay.
Which I believe is the first one.
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, the Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious, I believe, is the 4th one.
Right. Okay. I'm
So you
so
dropped the
sorry.
verse, Facebook
right.
style.
Yeah. 7, which is just whatever that's called.
Furious 7.
Furious 7,
Yeah.
right? And 10. Right. So I don't know how they became secret agents. I don't know why they started doing getting people out of jams that involve government espionage,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how that happened or what happened along the line. I don't know any of the characters.
You don't know when they went from DVDs to cybernetics.
No concept of any of this, right? But my experience watching that film was, because this is the thing for me, Alexi, right? If a film elicits an emotional response from me, then it's doing its job, right? And it might not be the emotional response the filmmakers intended.
Yes, but it's out of their hands now.
It's out of their hands.
Art is to be interpreted by you, and the masses.
Yes. So I can't say that I hated this movie because I was never bored.
You were never bored.
If you're bored, you don't enjoy the movie.
And joy was conjured within you, it sounds like. A pure, ecstatic, elated joy.
Well, not at first.
It built there.
At first, I was like, I hate this, right? I was like, there was a moment, because I get very...
You're an emotional guy.
This is why I like movies, right? Because if you get me, I'm like, I got a big, stupid, annoying laugh, right? I'll like, and I'll do all of that, right?
Well, of course, you've got that Mediterranean blood.
Absolutely,
That's one of the most
right?
passionate
We talk with our
things.
hands.
Exactly.
And our bodies.
Yeah.
And I was like, there was one point where I was like grabbing my hair and just being like, this is the stupidest. What the fuck?
Don't grab it too hard. That's what happened to Vin Diesel.
Right. And that's how we got. But then I really like, I don't know. I sort of just clicked in the same way that I loved The Room.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
And
You're speaking my language now.
And I love The Room.
I love The
right?
Room. I adore The Room.
And I really didn't think that a movie on this scale could have the same effect on me as The Room did. And kind of what I mean by that is it is made with such love and care, right? It's not a badly made movie, right? They care about their fans, right? They even fucking break the fourth wall and like give them a little wink to let them know they're in on the joke, right? It's very cute, right? So it's made with so much passion, and yet every single choice that is made is misguided in some way or another. The only way, because I think it's too easy to say it feels like it was written by AI, right? Some movies feel like that. But AI, movies where you'd be like, it feels like it was written by AI, there's always a coldness. There's an emptiness to it, right? This was my genuine reaction to this movie. It almost made me start a letterbox, right? I don't enjoy social media and I don't like putting my thoughts out there too much. But I was like, I have to speak my mind.
You have to express
on
yourself.
this. I can read some of the review if you want. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Let's do it. I think let's do it. Whip that phone out.
I don't know if it's appropriate.
I would say, if not now, when would it be appropriate?
When would I ever be able to get to share this, right? Because it's unfinished. It's an unfinished review.
Oh my gosh, it's a work in progress.
Right? Very
You've
much
been working
so.
on this for like a year, this movie's been out.
No, it was just a thought. It was just thoughts that I had to write
Thoughts
down.
and feelings.
Right?
Okay.
So I wrote, I haven't read this kind of since I wrote it.
Okay, we're being taken back right now.
I
A
wrote-
tear is appearing in the corner of his eye right now. It's taken back in time.
But all right. So this is what I wrote. I'll read a small bit and then we'll discuss, and then maybe I'll read more. See how it goes. See if it lands or not. All right. Never in my life have I had such a visceral, bizarre, and physically convulsive reaction to watching the film.
Okay.
For the entire length of the film, I was squirming in my seat, trying not to scream, pulling at my hair, and at one point felt so compelled to leave that I collected my things and went to stand up. But after remembering I was by myself on holiday and had nothing else to do, I decided to stay, and I'm so happy I did.
Wow. And a lot of people wouldn't think Mark's a squirmer. He's a squirmer.
This was like, what, how, the money so then I wrote, Fast 10 is completely disconnected from any sense of reality. And I'm not talking about the action sequences. Action sequence is fine, right? I'm talking about its attempt to tell a human story about human beings, emotions, and family. That's not to say it's void of these things or that it swings for them and misses. It's more that it feels like a facsimile of the human soul was created, and all of the characters, motivations, their understanding of life, and even how they speak to one another were drawn from that copy. It's like an alien observed humans, somehow copied a soul, and then from that copy, directed it to write the dialogue in the emotional scenes in this film.
Now you've begun this talk saying you're not Ridley Scott. Dare I say, there's proof otherwise right now.
It's just so fucking crazy. Like, I don't know how anyone was okay with like saying those lines to each other in the way that they did, or to be a fly on the wall, to be like the best boy on that film.
They should imply flies to be best boys is another
They
thing that
really
I'm
should.
for,
We
yes.
surely were at that point. It was just so fucking bonkers. And it's also, have you spent much time in Japan? Have you ever seen a movie in Japan?
I've never been to Japan. I've never seen a movie.
So
in Japan, I've seen a few movies.
Oh, you've seen a couple.
Yes, I've seen quite a dozen of them.
Well, one thing that I find really lovely about cinemas in Japan is that the lights don't come on until the credits are over, and
Respectful.
nobody leaves until the credits are over. It's just it's part of, it's a cultural thing, I suppose, right? And I'd seen a handful of films already in Japan, and I'd been there before. That was my knowledge of cinema etiquette in Japan. Fast 10 is the only movie where people left the moment the credits rolled, and I think it was because, and they're called Fire Boost over there, by the way.
Yeah, I have heard that. They're called
Something
Fire
like
Boosts.
that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see happen, because as the credits started rolling, you know, everyone's kind of quiet as they normally are, and they're just watching. And then I saw like a couple rows in front of me kind of turn to each other, and they just start whispering, and they look around and they get their things, and they very subtly get up and leave. And then other people saw that happen, and then started talking to each other. And it was like they gave permission for everyone else.
The seal had broken.
To break etiquette, because I think it was everyone going, oh, everyone else hated this? Great, let's get the fuck out of here. Wow. And have you noticed how much of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is sort of peppered
No.
through Fast 10?
What do you mean?
There's just like the bomb that first of all,
okay.
Jason Momoa is just playing the Joker.
He's playing the Joker. He's playing the Joker. He's
It's
beautiful.
a camp. It's very similar to like Demolition Man, another
Yes.
one of my favorite
Love
90s action
Demolition
films.
Man. Yes.
I
I would say he's my brightest spot in this movie.
Your
He's
what?
my brightest spot. Otherwise, it's complete darkness.
Yeah.
Momoa, and I quite like Alan Richardson as well, who plays like the
Yes.
agency fella this time around.
Yeah.
Everything else is, I love the Fast and Furious franchise. I just hated this movie.
Did you just find it boring? Because
I actually found it really boring.
So you didn't connect with it on the level that I
I
did.
did not. And I think it's because I've been in there. I've been in there with these characters, and this time going like, wow, it's unbalanced mess. And I think the joy of like the ridiculous escalation of the previous Fast movies, it felt absent here. Like stuff feels like it happens.
Yeah.
But it's more disconnected and boring. And I often found it a slog.
It's so disconnected. It's so, and yeah, you're right. I can't disagree with any of these
Thank goodness.
comments, but I just think for some reason I did almost leave. I genuinely was going to go.
And enjoy life.
Yeah, but I was
But
like,
you were enjoying life in there.
yeah, I was like, stay. You got nowhere to go. It's
Yeah.
raining outside. You're all
Of
alone.
course.
Like, stay, see what happens. And it was, and it was sick. Like, yeah, Jason Momoa.
I've never heard someone that expressly pull out a part of their life where their brain was conversing with itself. You know, like you were debating. It was a genuine debate where you had the two devil and the angel on your shoulders doing this conversation for you.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite
You
genres.
became a split personality watching this movie, I think is what happened.
Very much so.
Yeah,
It really brought out like the, you know, that person that does love really good storytelling and not necessarily, you know, like always things that are pushing the envelope or things that are new and different. Because I know that we disagreed on Triangle of Sadness, for example.
Yes, of
right?
course. We actually disagree quite a fair bit.
We do. We almost got into a fight
I know.
once about
I
Something.
don't know, something.
something you
Yeah.
were wrong about.
Wow. That's okay. I'll admit to it. I'm brave enough and bold enough. Of course, I have that
And that's
thick
why I
Aegean
love you.
skin that
That's
can
why-
handle being
That's why I
criticized.
respect you.
Thank you.
know, 'cause,
That's
like,
why I disrespect you.
But it is sometimes because one of my favorite genres, genuinely, of just like, content,
Yeah.
is cringe, right?
Yes.
I really love cringe stuff, and I love pushing how far can I engage with something that's cringe, something that is done in earnest, but where the person who is doing it is just has no sense of self-awareness, right?
I got some good cringe Vin Diesel content that I'll send your
Oh,
way.
please, please. I love it
Yeah.
so much. There's one that happened on Australian television recently that I'm not sure I can talk about.
We'll talk about it another time. Yeah.
Talk about another time. But I love it. But and so sometimes I think those, like, it's a fight, right? It's those two parts of my brain. It's like, what, you have all the resources to make this
Yeah.
genuinely good, right? Like, you have the ability. I hesitate so much now to say that I'm a Star Wars fan because there's so much bad Star Wars out there, and it doesn't make any sense that there's that much bad Star Wars because Disney has the most money. You can get anyone, any filmmaker, any writer.
I
You
heard
can
they're trying to get
spend-
Ingmar Bergman back from the dead to make one of them.
Also, rest in peace, James L. Jones.
Of course.
What a
yes.
shame. But like, I don't know. They just tend to rush these things when they don't need to. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But it's like these don't need to be what they are, right? Somehow they've turned into this farce. This absolute fucking farce of cinema. And sometimes I reject it. And in this case, I think it was a time and place thing where I just really was like, I am having so much fun. So yeah, Jason Momoa just plays the Joker, right? Crazy. Then there's a chase through a city with a big round bomb,
Yeah,
right?
they got that big round style bomb.
Yeah, very Dark Knight Rises. There's even Vin Diesel is just Batman in this movie. He can't. But it's even on another level. Doesn't get hurt, doesn't get bruised, no matter what, which is nuts. Fucking Jason Momoa just solving everything. He always just has a computer. Everything's always solved with a computer.
They love the
or
computers.
some sort of
They love computers in these movies.
It just makes no sense, right? But then there's a bit where they say, one of them says that when Vin Diesel kung fu kicks the bomb out of the way of the Vatican City. If you haven't seen this movie, this opening action scene is Vin Diesel saving Vatican City from blowing up from a big bomb, and he does a jump and does like a kung fu kick with his car, which is also in Speed Racer, which I believe we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about that
later,
in moments.
Which is very
time.
funny that two movies I picked, one that I love and adore, and one that I think is so stupid that I love.
Yeah.
Both feature cars doing like martial arts moves.
Yeah, and wait till you get that. Let's just say there's a little Pixar movie in your future of the recommendations.
But there's during that moment, right before he does the kick to save Vatican City, just so funny that he cares about Vatican City.
Well, he's wearing a
as well.
giant cross around his neck
know,
for
it's like,
freaking 20 years
That's
at
where
this
the Pope
point.
lives. That's it's just so interesting.
No, the Pope's my real dad. Gonna save him.
He saved me in my darkest times. I spoke to him. There's the line from The Dark Knight where they go, from The Dark Knight Rises, where they go, "You've done enough." And then Vin Diesel goes, he doesn't do the exact line, but he goes, "Not yet." Which is what Catwoman says to Batman when she's like, it's like the same thing, you've given them enough. And he goes, "No, you've given them everything. They're not everything, not yet." Like, that is in this movie. And it's like, that wasn't long ago enough to put in your movie,
I think
guys.
it's beautiful they paid honor to it. I think that's powerful. And I'm going to propose this. We're going to wrap up talking about Fast 10.
I'm so sorry.
But I'm going to wrap it up now. My final button is I need to find passion for this movie.
Yeah.
So I propose that me, you, and Michelle Brazier, who's also promised to watch this movie, to teach me to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
We need to get together and watch this movie.
All right.
I think that's it. Phones off. No distractions from the outside world. We're fully enveloped into Fast 10.
I really don't think you need to.
Okay, maybe I'll just live my life.
I reckon.
Well, we're going to go.
I reckon it's okay if you thought this was shit.
Okay, fair enough. I might not change then.
Weekly.
But we're going to talk about something that ain't shit. We're going to talk about your next film. This is a film that grows in my estimation of its beauty and its power as the years go on and on and on. From the twisted mind of the Wachowskis, we're looking at their 2008 cult hit. This is genuine cult film. This is in our cult film section of the video store. Speed Racer.
Wild that it's in the cult.
Cult.
I think it's truly beloved now. You don't think? Well, what section would you put it in? It defies classification.
Yeah, it kind of does. It makes sense that it's in the cult section given its reception, but I don't think it was ever made to be a cult film.
No. I think they wanted to be their big mainstream hit, even more mainstream than the freaking Matrix.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't still boggles my mind, and it's been so interesting for me, right? Because this was what happened when I saw this movie, right? It was the year 2008.
Wow.
Right. I was
Iron Man's flying around.
Iron Man's flying around. The Dark Knight hadn't come out. Was the Dark Knight?
I think it's around the same time.
Yeah,
2008 was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I remember when I watched Iron Man,
Yeah.
and I was like watching it. I was like, oh my god, they've finally done like a perfect comic book movie. And then the third act happened, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe not. But then the Dark Knight came out. I was like, oh my god, they've finally done a perfect. And then you rewatch it and it's plot holes and shit. That's how
He's crumbling. Mark's crumbling. Okay, Speed Racer.
But anyway, Speed Racer. So it was with I was doing a writing course at the time. It was with my short story writing class. It was our last day of the year. I was like, let's go to the movies. I think the other things that were out in the cinema at the time were Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And so I can't remember what else, but there was a third one, right? And
Dial of Destiny? That's the only Indiana Jones movies are out.
I can't remember what that other. I don't think it was Sucker Punch, or maybe that was the year before. I don't know. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. But it was Speed Racer was the only film that everyone in the class hadn't seen, and also no one wanted to see it, right? But because no one had seen it,
it was the obvious choice. Then
that's what we went.
It presents
and saw,
itself,
right? So
Destiny found a way to bring this movie into your world.
Absolutely. So we go, right? Expectations are at zero. I knew the anime, right? And
I remember faking sick during school and just staying at home and watching it and just like being bored out of my mind, but also charmed by it. Because it's just like, I have all these memories that, it's so rare that you're bored in this world now.
Yeah.
But back then, I just remember being a kid and just being bored. I remember that being on the TV while I was bored, but I liked it still.
Yeah, I just remembered. And I guess it didn't click until years later until I learnt what exposition was. But every line of dialogue is exposition.
Yes.
There's no just like characters talking to each other in that anime. It's always just like,
and then this
is what's happening. The characters just saying exactly what's happening.
And this film takes such a different approach because this is, as you were saying, this is pure cinematic excess.
Yes.
This is the most kaleidoscopic film that one can imagine.
Well, it's pure adaptation, right? It really is. And I love the process of adaptation, right? I love the idea of taking one medium and turning it into another.
Translating it. How do you make it to a new audience? How do you make this movie be understood?
And what choices did the creatives make? And I've always found that endlessly fascinating. Again, why Memento was one of my favorites early on, because that was based off a short story that his brother had written. And when I found that out, I immediately went and got the short story and read that and was like, oh my God, it's so different. I love that shit. And so anyway, it's 10 o'clock. We watch this movie. I am just gripped by it. Like I loved how visually just full on it was. And I was so taken away by the first 25 minutes. Narratively, I had never seen anything like that before.
The way it weaves in, in through times and stuff,
it's
just
three different
unbelievable.
races, three different stories over three different periods of time, all happening together on the same race course, right? It gives you Speed Racer's entire backstory. It tells you his relationship with his brother and with his family, sets up the stakes for the whole film in 20 minutes.
And Kit Curry's there.
And yes, in this complete non-linear way, like cars zooming over the top of you and lights and the visuals are bonkers. And it's like really heavily CG, but purposefully because it's super stylistic. It just does all these incredible things, and that really puts people off. And I didn't realize until the end of the movie. Like I said, that it got me. I was in. The beautiful, I thought, very simple, emotional scene between Speed and his dad, right? Made me cry. Anything between a father and son, that kind of gets me. And this was like simple enough that it worked. The story isn't this crazy bonkers. I mean, it is kind of convoluted if you really go in and try and break it down, but you don't need to understand all of those details.
It's the actual through line itself is quite minimalist, but there's a lot of trappings on it that complicate it.
Yeah.
But then the visual style, because it is so kinetic, so out there, so cubist is the way they talk about it as well, the Wachowskis. It then, I think, reinforces the simpleness of the story in an interesting way. And I think it's kind of like Fury Road is another thing that I think does something similar in that sense, where it's like, it's a bit primal, but Speed Racer is all about complicating something primal, but then at the same time, because it's complicated, I sound crazy and I sound hyperbolic and I sound hypocritical, but it strips it back in a sense as well.
Yes.
And it's the only movie I think if you printed it out, like if you just printed out like a big sheet of the movie, it would make sense just looking at it, like you're looking at a mural. Like there's something about the way it transitions between scenes where it's just going, oh, they've figured out something new. Like this is, I think, a significant, I sound fucking crazy, I'm aware of it, I'm so sorry. But I think it's a significant step in the history of visual storytelling. Like I think that on the path from the cave paintings, I think that you have to put to wherever we're up to now, wherever we'll go, Speed Racer needs to be one of those pinpoints on that timeline.
I agree.
You know? I really think it does. I know it's so crazy.
No, but I think the way it's able to do that is because it respects its source material so much, yet changes it so much. But I think one of the things it takes from the source material so well, and the reason it's able to have this very complex, complicated plot, but a very simple through line, is just their use of cliches and overacting, or like the hammy acting, because you don't need to know exactly the plot of the villain and how he corrupts and how it's all sort of...
It don't matter.
No, but...
You know he's evil.
You go, he's evil.
Yeah.
You go, at first he's good, and then he changes on a dime, and you're like, oh, he's evil. Oh, he's rigged it. Great. And all the details, they're there if you want them. They're there for a second watch, but you don't need to understand it. There's one other thing that I adore about this movie that so few movies like this do, right? So often in this kind of film where you have a character that has an exceptional skill, right? Lots of movies that have that. Every time in kind of like, the top of the second act or at some point, usually the thing that they do is they doubt themselves, or they have a moment of they're bad at this exceptional skill. And then it's, oh, gee, I wonder what happens. They find the strength or they find the courage and then they do it. What I fucking love about Speed Racer is not once does I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about genuinely. It's what I love about this so much. Not once does the movie ever go, Speed Racer is not the best fucking racer in the world. He is the best. It is just this mountain of obstacles that are constantly thrown at him, that are constantly trying to break him, that he needs to overcome. And that's the thing that he never doubts himself. He's never not the best. And then that final fucking race. Wow. If you watch that and you don't it gets my heart every time. I feel it in my chest every time. The emotion, the way it's cut, the music, all of it. He's just kicking ass. Visually, you can't tell what the fuck is going on the first time you watch it, but it is all there. It is so clear. And the way that it just culminates, that crescendo. So few films have that, like a musical crescendo that just, and then into the breakdown, into the fucking, it's stunning, man. I watched that movie at 10 o'clock in the morning, got out, was an emotional, I think I've seen one of my favorite movies of all time. everyone else fucking hated it.
Yeah.
I went straight to the box office. I bought a ticket for the next session and I
Wow.
went and I watched it again.
The only time I've ever done that, Big Mama's House, and I made my mum take me twice in a row. To wrap things up on our talk about Speed Racer, I just want to read you a quote that I've got from Lana Wachowski from a few years, 2012, a few years after Speed Racer, with great film critic Drew McQueenie, an interview. The whole impetus for Speed Racer came out of the fact that we were visually thinking people. We go to art galleries and art museums all the time. We go into the Art Institute of Chicago, and every room there are paintings that look completely and utterly different from the other rooms. But in cinema, everything looks the same. And it's a really aggressive straitjacket aesthetically. We started talking about cubism, for instance, and we started talking about, could you make a cubist film? And we realized that if you try to make a cubist film for adults, you will end up like Picasso, running from the angry mob when he first showed Guernica. They wanted to kill him. Literally, it's because adults, they reject change, and aesthetic change is too aggressive, a death for them. Every generation experiences aesthetic death, and when you really assault an aesthetic, people freak out. But we said that kids are okay with aesthetic change.
Yeah.
I think that is everything that we've been kind of talking
That's
around
beautiful.
there. And that is why I think the Wachowskis are like geniuses from the future. Like,
Yeah.
I think that they are so essential to the way that people understand and see cinema, and also why people freak out about everything that they've ever made.
Yeah, yeah.
But-
it's been so lovely for me to have, like, I can't tell you that for the vast majority, until I discovered YouTube, film essays on YouTube, I genuinely thought I was alone in the world with my opinions on Speed Racer. And it has been like this beautiful thing for me to see all these people gather around this film.
Yeah.
Because I want people to love this movie, because I think it is just so much better than people give it credit for so many reasons.
Yeah. It's a little long. Anyway, let's move on to the next film. You've got your final one in there. You were saying...
You don't like long movies. I'm into them.
I know, Speed Racer, come on, what more can we say? But you were talking about how you have a love for adaptation. Now, that's a little funny that you said that, because the movie that you've got here is a phenomenal take on just that.
Yeah.
From the twisted minds of Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman. And what the heck, co-writer Donald Kaufman? It is a film titled Adaptation itself.
Yeah.
Comedy.
Tell me about falling in love with the adaptation, because you're already talking about these other complex narrative films that you're falling in love with around this time. I call the Millennium Mindfuck era of cinema.
Yeah.
You got Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
You've got Memento. I think adaptation is like the comedic. There's a few comedy films in there, mostly by Charlie Kaufman, in that kind of.
Thank you for calling it a comedy.
I think it's a very funny movie. I think it's part of that wave. Can you tell me about falling in love with adaptation?
Yeah, it was. It's the movie that kind of made me. I watched that movie, and I was like, I think one day I want to make movies, right? And I'm on my path.
You're on that pathway.
I'm on that path.
He's on that pathway. Let it be known,
right? But I was like, I want to make a movie, not necessarily like that, not in that crazy headfucky Charlie Kaufman way, because there's so much to talk about what I enjoyed about this film. And again, it was one of those movies where at that time where I was spending so much time on the internet and Internet Movie Database that, you look it up and the whole goes, Donald Kaufman has an Internet Movie Database page and his 2 credits are Adaptation and The Three.
The Three.
Right? And I just loved, at that time, when the internet was still pretty early, right? It was kind of like, wait, does this motherfucker exist? Does this guy have a twin brother that died? Like, who is this guy? What is it? And then discovering that the book was real, and then discovering the story behind
The
the
Orchard
film.
Thief is real. Susan Orlean's real.
I love what made me fall in love with this movie more than the movie itself was the story behind the movie. And I think it was one of the first films for me where when I did look up who the hell made this, what the hell was going on, that it it like sucked me in. It was so interesting and there were so many layers. I guess it was my first introduction to the idea of meta.
Yeah, meta postmodernism.
Yeah.
And I think what Charlie Kaufman does so well, I call it like American surrealism. Like I think he's very good at having a core concept, a complicated idea, and then kind of distilling it and finding a simple way to present it. And this is like, it's convoluted as well.
Yeah.
I keep speaking in hypocrisies. I'm so sorry about that. But I think that, it's probably clearer in other films that he does.
Yeah.
But in this one, I think it's like the simple way that he finds a way to communicate that is by going back to the principles of almost hack storytelling.
Yeah.
And
it's because of that. It's because of that reason and the way that the film deals with that. Like something, because I swear every time I watch it, I find a new thing to love. And I watch it every year at least, right? Once a year. It's just one of those movies for me, right?
Same date, or do you mix it up?
No, it's just usually
happens.
at some point I will get in the mood and I'll want to sit down and watch it, or I'll want to show it to someone that hasn't seen it, or it just usually happens, right? So I've seen it, goodness knows how many times, but I think it's one of the first movies that made me like pay attention to the craft of writing a film, right?
Yeah.
Because so much of it is about writing and the struggle of writing, but then also at the start of that movie, in the monologue over just the black screen, right? He sets up every single thing that he doesn't want to do, and then very slowly the movie does like it's a list, like it's a checklist. It does every single one of those things, and structurally that's not something I noticed until like my third or fourth watch. Right?
I noticed the first one.
Really, you're so smart.
Yeah, really letting me know.
You're so smart. Well, I didn't even know. It wasn't until like maybe like 10 years after having seen this film like so many times that I then discovered, just by being in a bookstore, that Robert McKee was a real person and that Robert McKee's story was a real book.
Yeah.
And that was like I was just in a bookstore and saw it and went, wait, I was like, how did I miss that in all my research when I was a kid?
Because you don't think like, oh, this is real. You don't go, oh, there are real. Like if you're not in it, why would you go, well, you can go screenwriting seminars are real.
No, yeah, like
what
just those.
That seems like a creation of a surrealist.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, there's guys that teach you how to write stories. They'll sell millions of dollars. There's guys that do that.
So it's like, I think it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I also, my idea of Nick Cage up to that point was, I'm Castor Troy, right? Like a really big, over the top. I think I hadn't seen maybe a lot of his earlier stuff, but I think I'd seen the that fucking bonkers vampire film.
Yeah, Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss,
Yeah.
and I loved Face Off growing up. I loved The Rock, right?
Yeah.
So he was just always this big, kind of like weirdo actor, and this is still
also like, I think for people our age, it's like weirdly Nicolas Cage was an action star in our first memories.
Yeah.
Like that's really weird
odd,
to think about.
super odd.
Because it's like he evolves from being the nerd to then
Yeah.
being and also a weird actor, an eccentric, and someone pushing the envelope. Becomes an action star for many years,
Yeah.
and then kind of a DTV guy for many years, and now
Yeah.
he's once again being recognized as someone who is pushing the envelope of acting.
Yeah, and I was excited for Dream Scenario because
It's in the same kind of space as this.
I was kind of hoping. I always refer to his performance in that movie as my favorite.
Yeah.
Like cinematic acting.
Yeah.
I think he's a tour de force in it. It is so grounded. It is so fucking nuanced. The way he plays those two characters, and they're so similar yet so different. It's like, I don't know as an actor how you achieve something that great. I think it is a flawless, endlessly watchable performance.
Can I read you a little bit about it?
Please.
Because there is this article from this year, an interview with Nicolas Cage. It's in The New Yorker, and it's titled, Nicolas Cage is Still Evolving. And it's an interview with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
The interviewer Susan Orlean.
No.
The writer of The Orchard
Really?
Thief that is the subject of this film. And there's just a part in which she goes, hey, let's just talk about adaptation. And it's so delightful. This is such a good interview. But more so, it's revealing for both of them about the process of it. And I don't want to spoil that for anyone listening or you here. Because I think it's so fun to read, especially hearing Susan Orlean's thoughts about it as an adaptation is so fun. It's a delight. But she asks him, and was it as hard as it seemed to play the two roles? He says, oh my God, there were days where maybe I should try an impression. Oh my God, there were days where I was literally screaming at the ceiling, going from Charlie to Donald and back to Charlie and switching and regrouping all the feelings and emotions and attitudes. Like if I woke up the wrong side of the bed in the morning, I would start with Charlie. But if I woke up on the right side of the bed in the morning, I would start with Donald, who's so jovial. I'm going to give up on the impression. The weird thing that I've experienced is that people say, oh, I just love Donald Kaufman. I don't actually get jealous. Like, I don't remember that I played Donald Kaufman. I'm Charlie Kaufman. And it makes me really nervous and jealous. I'm like, how come you like that actor better? And then I'm like, oh, I am that actor. It was a head trip.
That's so cool to hear. It's amazing because it is like, it's so good. Anything that seems like you watch it and you're like, that'd be easy, it obviously isn't, right?
Yeah.
Because you could just be, sometimes I think about it, I'm like, oh no, he's just happy and jovial as one and the other is like depressed and dark.
Yeah.
But it is the fucking nuance. He is so good at doing theatrical, right? But I don't think he's ever really done a performance like this. I think it is standalone.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of, because Dream Scenario didn't quite get there for me. It didn't quite do that. But maybe that had to do with the script. I don't know. I thought it was okay. I just thought it was bleak as fuck.
Yeah, okay.
I think in a movie like that, it's why I love Adaptation. It is so funny. It is a comedy, full stop.
Full
right?
stop, yeah.
It is a fucking comedy. And I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people maybe don't see it that way or see it through that lens. But it is my favorite comedy, without question. And I can't remember what I was going to say, but it's a good movie.
I think though, I would know that to jump on what you were saying about Cage, the way that I describe his performance style is emotional expressionism. So he takes an emotion that's really core and really raw, and it's an internal feeling. And his work is all about how do you express that outwardly, externally, and physically. And I think that's what he does better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And the only other person I think acts in that same way, that would describe in the same way, is Toni Collette. I think they're the two that I would describe to each other. And I didn't click that for me until I saw Toni Collette in the Charlie Kaufman film that she did. What's that called? I'm thinking of ending
the Netflix
things.
one. Yeah, I didn't know.
Well, yeah, sorry to end on a note of sadness and disagreement once again, but I liked it a lot.
Really?
Yes,
Maybe I
liked it a lot.
gotta rewatch it. It did not.
Give it a shot, brother. Give it a
Did not
shot.
click for me.
Give it a shot.
I don't think I like him as a director.
Oh, interesting. Because he says that he wishes now that he directed all his movies because he thinks it's the most pure thing.
No. Spike Jonze made those.
And Michelle.
Don't
speak.
Well,
don't
no.
forget
Michelle.
We love Michelle.
This is another story that I love.
Michelle Gondry, by the way, if you don't know who we're talking about.
Not Brazier. We're not talking about the. He wrote Adaptation and Eternal Sunshine at the same time. It was like this horrible couple of years for him.
Yeah.
And
You
out
should
of
got
that,
Dole to write one of them.
I know, just offset some of the. He was busy doing the three. Yeah. But like, what an incredible! When I heard that, I was like, "Oh, you're my favorite writer in the world." That's kind of changed since. I think he was my favorite writer for a time, but I think a lot of his movies are about. You know, the thing that got me about I'm thinking of ending things is when I saw the trailer. I was like, "Oh, great." It's, I always say, I don't know if this is a common saying, and I don't even know if it makes sense, but I always say expectation is the death of art. Right?
Yeah, okay, yes.
Like, if you go in expecting something, an artistic creation, if you set your expectations, it's so rare that they'll be met, and as soon as they're not, you're going to be disappointed, right? Yeah. And I saw the trailer, and I was like, a female protagonist, great. Because all of his movies are about, like, a tortured white dude, usually a bit artistic, right? And they're similar in that sense. And there's enough there. That's cool, right? I think you can get a bunch of stuff out of that. And he did get a bunch of incredible movies out of that. And I was like, great, this one's just at least a little bit different. And then that movie, it's not about her. It ends up becoming about him. And I think that at that time, that just got me. And maybe that ruined it for me. So I think I need to go in with my expectations low and see if I enjoy it because I love him. But
well, how could they be more lower than you hating the movie? So,
that's true.
You're in the right frame of mind to go back in.
Because I still need to rewatch Synecdoche. Synecdoche never really hit it for me.
That's hard to go for the rewatch, I reckon. It's a heavy movie.
Yeah, and it just, again, there's just something about his directing style. When he's had literally two of the most interesting directors, I think his work is better when someone else comes in, looks at the craziness,
help translate it,
and helps translate it in a different. It needs that lens. I just feel like he's always too close to it. He's too in it, and it needs a separation. I'm sorry, Charlie, but I disagree.
Wow. Okay, I like it. Hopefully, a Mark Bonanno gets a little try at a Charlie Kaufman script one day.
We'll see. And look, if my movie,
see if you can fucking handle it,
comes
dude,
out, I'm sure everyone will be like, "This is a piece of shit." So I have no ground to stand on. He's an incredible filmmaker, and I adore him.
Well, I love him too. I love him more, maybe.
Staff pick.
So let us get on to our final part of the show, Mark, where it is now my duty, my honor, and I will say it this time, my fear of recommending you a movie, a bespoke, customized choice based on your taste, based on our conversations, based on what I know about you as well. So I already know that you like these kind of movies that kind of dance in a bit of surrealism and dance in absurdity. And I knew that you were a Kaufman head. I knew you loved Kaufman. But apparently you only like when he fucking doesn't direct his own shit. So thank God it's a movie that's not directed by him.
He's getting better. He's probably getting better. I loved Anomalisa though.
Oh, me too. Loved that movie.
Loved
that
Anomalisa.
movie. Yeah.
There you go. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Fair enough. Yeah. We can agree on some things.
We can agree.
In fact, most of the movies we've talked about, we actually do agree on. But I want to get you something kind of in that realm. And I was thinking, okay, well, I wanted to get you something that is in that kind of surrealist space. And then it kind of clicked for me. There's a movie that I saw, a decade ago now, basically. French filmmaker, Quentin Dupieux. Do you know Quentin Dupieux?
I love Quentin Dupieux.
Have you seen all his movies?
I've seen a handful of them.
Oh, fuck. I might have fucked up there.
Well, I'll tell you what ones I've seen and tell me if you fucked up.
Fuck, no. Should I risk it? What do I do? It's not Rubber. It's not a car. I know I was thinking it because you got a car thing, but it was a movie of his that came out. He's okay. It's a movie called Reality.
I've seen Reality. No. That's not the one with the hole, is it?
No, it's a one that's set in Hollywood.
I haven't seen Reality.
Fuck,
it's been on my list for a long time though.
Comedy.
I have the copy right here for you.
No.
Because it is hard to find, so we've got it for you here in the last video store.
Amazing.
And let me read you this front cover quote that's on here from Steve Dollar, the Wall Street Journal. Surreal. Think 8.5 crossed with Inception.
Wow.
So take that one with you. Thank God. So A Wannabe director is given 48 hours by producers to find the best groan of pain worthy of an Oscar as the only condition to back his film. And for me, it's an inspired film. It's got this great meta narrative that I think achieves like this perfection in its oddness. Like he's not for everyone's taste, Quentin Dupieux. No. But if he's your type, I think that this is my favorite of his films.
But do you know what's great about him? His movies are usually an hour.
Oh, they're hectic short.
So it's like, this is what I love about him, is that when you're making as many films, I think he's releasing 3 films this year, something like that. I saw his new one at Cannes.
Was it Yannick, the new one? Or was there one? There's one after Dali?
No, not Dali.
Oh my God, he's got 3 this year.
Yeah, there's one that, and it's my favorite one that I've seen of his, and the fucking name has completely escaped me. What? Could you please look it up because it's killing me?
I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll look it up. Let me see. But I would say this is kind of
the second act.
The second act, yes.
The second act. phenomenal.
Yeah, great.
Right? Really, again, does meta, but does it in a way that's quite interesting and fresh and new. I loved. Thank you for not. Smoking Causes Coughing.
Smoking Causes Coughing.
Smoking Causes Coughing was so good,
Yeah.
and I loved the one about the time portal. I can't remember all the names. I'm terrible with names, but there's one where they go to a house and they find a little portal.
Yeah.
Climb in is great.
I think this one you'll really dig because there's a little
Right.
bit of that adaptation sense in there. But the thing that when I fell in
Eric
love with his
Wareheim's
films,
in it.
Eric Wareheim's in it. He's hilarious in it.
Fuck yeah.
Lots of great like American improvisers and comedians are in it. I think
Yeah.
it's a very nicely cast film.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really got me was seeing this and Rubber. I rewatched Rubber around the same time that I had seen this for the first time. But it's clearest in this. There's something where he anticipates what you're thinking when you're seeing his movies.
Yeah, right.
And there's something like as soon as he understands so well what the audience, if they're on board, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And then once that question forms in your head, like what? Like you form a question in your head like about what's going on, what's happening here.
Yeah.
He then finds a way to answer that and then go somewhere further different. And I don't know how he does that,
Yeah.
but that's exactly how I felt watching Reality. And it's kind of like Buñuel does Inception,
Yeah.
and then Buñuel does fucking Adaptation as well because it's like this weird Hollywood take on Reality. I just think that it is the most fun and there's so much delight in there to discover. And it's kind of got this great nonsense logic, that dream logic in there that I think he just absolutely nails.
Awesome. I'm so excited because I'm my thing at the moment is I'm going through and I'm trying to watch all of his movies when I've got the time for it.
I'm glad you hadn't seen this one because I would have had to snap the disc and use it to harm myself in a deadly manner. But my honor remains intact.
Yes, it does.
I'm a soldier of cinema to fight another day.
But you nailed it with Quentin Dupieux. You nailed it with recommending one of his films to me.
Yeah, thank God.
Because I've just really been loving his work recently.
Brother, it was either this or a 1970s Hungarian animated movie. And I
would have loved that.
You would have too.
I love old animation, man.
Oh, well, that will be off mic. That was more a Speed Racer choice for you. But
Okay,
I'll give you a
cool.
little... I'll just say it because I'll come up on a podcast, I'm sure, another time.
Please.
But The Son of the White Mare is another thing I was
Oh,
thinking
I've
of.
heard nothing.
Well, we're not going to
this.
say it today. We're not going to say it today, but I'm giving you the recommendation.
Great.
Anyway, Mark, my brother, thank you for joining me in the last video store. You're
Thank
going
you.
home with a beautiful stack of movies. Fast 10, Speed Racer, couple of car classics
Fast
for a
10's
little
so
rev
shit.
head like yourself. My
Fast 10
God,
is
the
so
hop
shit.
in that muscle car with your other couple of movies, Adaptation and Reality, some nerd stuff, but you're a rev head at heart, brother.
Hell yeah.
You shift the gear up to 12. He's
And,
going
hey,
fast.
If you're ever doing a Paul Thomas Anderson special, please have me on.
No.
No. I got so much to say about that cunt.
Well, you'll come back. You have to return these movies at one
Of
point,
course.
so you have to come back.
Of course I
and
would.
and you will be able. You got full access to our Paul Thomas Anderson selection there.
Great.
Hopefully, he's got a new one. I heard it's got Leo in it.
Yeah, that's happening, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
I never believe it until I see it.
Don't get me started because I'll start going on
Wow.
about PT.
Wow.
I love him.
And in the words of a collaborator of Charlie Kaufman himself, Michel Gondry, one of his movie titles, Be Kind Rewind.
His venture into the American market. Terrible film. Terrible.
The last video store.
So that was our chat with Mark Bonanno. Dear mate, check out the Auntie Donna live tour for next year, 2025. Drem, tickets on sale now at auntiedonna.com. Also, check out my screening at Golden Age Cinema December 20th. 3 nasty Christmas films right there for you, also in the show notes. And check us out on Last Video Store Batuto on Instagram. Leave us a comment, give us a review for your own rental combo on any of the apps you choose to interact with this show on. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies and be beautiful, please. Please be beautiful to each other at this closing time of the year.